In a shocking twist of fate, a hitchhiker's life can end in unimaginable horror. Donald Henry Gaskins, known as the Hitchhiker Killer, confessed to murdering over 100 victims during the 1970s. Infamous for his brutal methods, Gaskins targeted young men and women, often luring them with promises of a ride. He was arrested in 1975 after a string of disappearances in South Carolina, which led investigators to discover the horrific details of his crime spree. Gaskins was sentenced to death in 1980, and his chilling legacy remains a grim reminder of the evil that lurks within society. His life ended in 1991, but his crimes still haunt the families of his victims. Born into poverty and neglect in South Carolina, Donald Gaskins' early life was a harsh and unforgiving landscape. The rural backdrop of the 1940s, with its sprawling fields and dilapidated homes, painted a picture of a world that had little to offer him. From a young age, Gaskins was subjected to relentless physical abuse and emotional neglect. His childhood was a breeding ground for darkness, where every beating and every harsh word became the twisted building blocks of his psyche. The scars left by his tormentors were not just physical, they etched deep into his soul, shaping the man he would become. Violence became a familiar companion for young Donald. He was a troubled child, prone to fits of rage and cruelty towards animals. These early acts of violence were not just random outbursts. They were a manifestation of the anger and pain that festered within him. Each act of cruelty was a cry for help that went unheard, a signal of the darkness taking root in his soul. The seed of evil had been planted and began to take root in his soul. As he grew older, the darkness within him only deepened. The once innocent eyes of a child now held a sinister gleam, a reflection of the malevolence that was growing stronger each day. The world around him seemed to mirror his inner turmoil, with its dark forests and ominous atmosphere. Gaskins' criminal career began at an early age, marked by petty theft and escalating violence. What started as small acts of rebellion soon spiraled into a pattern of increasingly dangerous behavior. He found a twisted sense of power in his crimes, a way to assert control over a life that had always been out of his grasp. The delinquent youths he associated with only fueled his descent into darkness. Each transgression chipped away at his humanity, drawing him closer to the abyss. The more he stole, the more he hurt others, the further he drifted from any semblance of normalcy. His soul, once capable of love and kindness, was now a barren wasteland, haunted by the ghosts of his past and the demons of his present. A stint in reform school only intensified his rage, forging him into a hardened criminal. The institution, meant to rehabilitate, instead became a crucible of anger and resentment. The hard labor and harsh discipline did nothing to quell the storm within him. If anything, it only made him more determined to lash out at the world that had wronged him. His soul, once innocent, was now a breeding ground for monstrous desires. The young man who emerged from reform school was not just a criminal, he was a predator in the making. The eerie atmosphere that surrounded him was a testament to the darkness that had fully taken hold of his being. By the time he reached adulthood, Gaskins was already a hardened criminal, his soul steeped in darkness. The years of abuse, neglect and violence had forged him into a man who knew no other way to live. His hardened look and the shadows that seemed to follow him were a clear indication of the life he had led and the path he was destined to follow. He drifted through life like a predator seeking vulnerable prey. The night became his ally, the darkness his cloak. He moved through the world with a singular purpose, driven by the monstrous desires that had taken root in his soul. The ominous lighting of dark alleyways and the solitude of night provided the perfect backdrop for his predatory instincts. The world had failed to nurture him, and now he would make it pay. The abandoned houses and stormy weather mirrored the chaos within him. He was a man on a mission to exact revenge on a world that had shown him nothing but cruelty. The gloomy atmosphere that surrounded him was a testament to the darkness that had consumed his soul. The open road, a symbol of freedom and adventure, became Gaskins's hunting ground. This stretch of asphalt, often seen as a path to new beginnings, turned into a corridor of nightmares for those who crossed paths with him. The highway, with its endless horizon, masked the sinister intentions lurking in the shadows. He preyed on those seeking a ride, exploiting their trust with chilling ease. Hitchhikers, often desperate and vulnerable, became easy targets for his malevolent schemes. They saw him as a savior, a kind soul offering a lift, but little did they know they were stepping into a trap from which there was no escape. A smile masked his true intentions, luring unsuspecting victims into his web of horror. His charm was disarming, his demeanor seemingly harmless. But behind that facade was a predator waiting to pounce. The smile that promised safety was the same one that sealed their fate. His preferred targets were hitchhikers, their vulnerability an open invitation to his twisted desires. Each time a hitchhiker opened that car door, they unknowingly signed their own death warrant. The car, a seemingly ordinary vehicle, became a vessel of doom. Gaskins' methods were shockingly brutal. His tools of terror, meticulously chosen, were instruments of unimaginable pain. Each tool had a purpose, each one a means to inflict maximum suffering. The dark settings where he operated were filled with the echoes of agony. He would torture his victims for days, deriving sick pleasure from their suffering. The cries of his victims, their pleas for mercy, only fueled his sadistic desires. The torment he inflicted was not just physical, but psychological, breaking their spirits before ending their lives. Rape, mutilation, and unspeakable acts of depravity became his chilling signature. His acts were not just crimes, they were atrocities that left indelible scars on the fabric of humanity. Each act of violence was a testament to his complete lack of empathy and his insatiable thirst for cruelty. His car, a mobile chamber of horrors, bore witness to the depths of his depravity. The vehicle, which should have been a symbol of mobility and freedom, was transformed into a rolling dungeon. Every journey taken in that car was a one-way trip to terror. He documented his crimes in a chilling diary, detailing each act with chilling detachment. The diary was not just a record, it was a manifesto of madness. Each entry, written with cold precision, revealed the depths of his twisted psyche. The diary, later discovered by investigators, became a testament to the monstrous capacity that dwelled within him. It provided a window into the mind of a killer, a mind devoid of remorse or humanity. The evidence found within those pages was both horrifying and invaluable in understanding the true nature of his crimes. His crimes, devoid of remorse, sent shockwaves of fear through communities. The news of his atrocities spread like wildfire, leaving a trail of panic and dread. Communities that once felt safe were now gripped by fear, their sense of security shattered by the knowledge that such evil could exist among them. Fear gripped the Carolinas as reports of missing hitchhikers soared. The once peaceful roads became paths of dread as families clung to hope, desperately searching for their loved ones. Each new disappearance added to the growing sense of unease, casting a dark shadow over the community. Whispers of a shadowy figure preying on the vulnerable spread like wildfire. The stories were chilling, painting a picture of a predator lurking in the darkness, waiting to strike. Women walked with a heightened sense of caution, constantly looking over their shoulders, while men formed groups to protect their neighborhoods. Communities lived in fear, their sense of security shattered. Neighborhood meetings were held where frightened residents shared their concerns and devised plans to keep their families safe. Doors that were once left unlocked were now bolted shut, and the once vibrant streets turned eerily quiet as night fell. Law enforcement worked tirelessly, desperately trying to connect the dots in a seemingly endless string of disappearances. Detectives pored over evidence, hoping to find a clue that would lead them to the perpetrator. The pressure was immense as the community looked to them for answers and reassurance. A breakthrough came in 1975 when Gaskins, apprehended for a relatively minor offence, confessed to a chilling murder. His arrest was a turning point. But what followed was even more shocking. The seemingly minor criminal revealed a dark and twisted side that no one had suspected. The details he revealed sent chills down the spines of even the most hardened investigators. His calm demeanor as he recounted his heinous acts was unnerving, leaving those in the room grappling with the horror of his confessions. Each revelation was more disturbing than the last, painting a picture of a man devoid of remorse. His confession opened a Pandora's box of horrors, revealing the true extent of his crimes. Old case files were reopened and hidden evidence came to light, connecting him to numerous unsolved cases. The magnitude of his actions was staggering, leaving detectives horrified and the community in shock. He led police on a gruesome treasure hunt, revealing the burial sites of his victims. Each new location uncovered another tragic story, as families were finally given answers, but at a devastating cost. The search for bodies became a grim routine, with each discovery deepening the sense of loss and sorrow. The sheer number of graves sent shockwaves through the nation. News reports covered the discoveries extensively, and the public grappled with the horrifying reality of the monster in their midst. The rural cemeteries, once places of peace, became symbols of the unimaginable atrocities committed by Gaskins. The man who appeared so ordinary had concealed a monstrous secret. His unassuming appearance had allowed him to blend in, hiding the darkness within. As the full extent of his crimes came to light, the community was left to grapple with the terrifying truth that evil can wear a familiar face. Gaskins' trial was a media spectacle, the nation captivated by the gruesome details of his crimes. He showed no remorse, his chilling demeanor sending shivers down the spines of courtroom observers. His own words condemned him, painting a horrifying portrait of a man consumed by darkness. The jury's verdict was swift and decisive: guilty. Gaskins was sentenced to death for his crimes, a small measure of justice for the families he had destroyed. He received 9 death sentences, a testament to the sheer brutality of his crimes. However, even the death penalty could not erase the pain inflicted on his victims' families. The scars of his crimes ran deep, a constant reminder of the loved ones lost to a monster hiding in plain sight.